Military engineers of Russia deploy anti-drone nets that entirely cover open-air sections of the road along critical supply routes in Ukraine. The ongoing effort to create a road of life is depicted in a video published by a Kremlin-backed media outlet. As told by a sapper team commander from the 3rd Army Corps of the Russian invasion forces, his unit was entrusted with an over 2-kilometer stretch of road between the towns of Bakhmut and Chasiv Yar. Ukrainian electronic warfare specialist Serhiy Biskresnov, known as Serhiy Flash, reported via Telegram that Russia is constructing nets spanning several kilometers to protect logistics, Defense Express reported. He said that these nets also defend against fiber-optic-controlled drones, while smaller nets help block drone-dropped munitions and mines. While the overall scale of the project remains unclear, Defense Express predicts Russia will expand these protective networks if they prove effective. Even if the nets don't provide complete protection, they will likely complicate operations for Ukrainian FPV drone operators and increase the cost of drone strikes per target, as per the report. Even though the net cannot guarantee 100% success in preventing a well-executed strike, it may prove a good investment in the long run by forcing Ukrainians to expend more kamikaze drones per target. The anti-FPV drone system erected in Donetsk is not the first time Russians have tried to use netting on a grand scale to defeat these fast, highly maneuverable weapons. As media previously reported, the Russians used mesh nets strung between lampposts on a road near Bakhmut to try and break up and deter FPV drones. However, the Ukrainians quickly found a workaround, flying over the nets to strike targets behind them. That system, however, did not have side or top netting that would provide better, encapsulated protection. The following video shows how Ukrainian FPV drone operators overcame that netting.
In the flat farmlands and shattered mining towns of eastern Ukraine, the war has become a contest between Russian foot soldiers and Ukrainian explosive drones, the Wall Street Journal reports. Surveillance drones now police the 600-mile front line, having all but entirely replaced human reconnaissance, with explosive drones dispatched to pick off advancing Russian soldiers, while larger ones drop bomblets on enemy positions. Ukrainian infantry only fire their weapons when Russians slip past this unmanned aerial vehicle phalanx. Nearly 3 years into the war, Ukraine's eastern defenders are fighting an asymmetric battle where advanced technology meets critical manpower shortages, with forces outnumbered at least 5 to 1 along most of the eastern front. Drones can't replace men, a battalion commander told the WSJ, explaining that while drones can disrupt an enemy attack, they cannot fully stop it. The situation around Pokrovsk illustrates the evolving nature of modern warfare, where Ukraine is producing approximately 200,000 drones monthly to combat Russian advances. The effectiveness of this drone-centric strategy is evident in the account of Munin, a senior lieutenant commanding an aerial drone battalion from Ukraine's 60th Mechanized Brigade. His unit regularly launches at least 60 first-person view drones daily, compared to just 15 a year ago. However, despite inflicting significant casualties on Russian forces, the technological advantage hasn't been enough to halt the enemy's progress fully. The human cost of the conflict remains stark. One 25-year-old infantry platoon commander revealed that within a month of his brigade's arrival in the Pokrovsk area, 80% of the infantry had been injured or killed and were no longer fit to fight. The situation is further complicated by the quality of reinforcements, with most new arrivals being recent conscripts in their 40s and 50s with limited combat experience. There's a shortage in every position, especially in the infantry, Major Barracuda of the 68th Jaeger Brigade said. The lack of time to properly train new recruits has created additional pressures on the defending forces. While drones have revolutionized battlefield surveillance and tactical strikes, traditional infantry remains crucial, particularly in urban environments where buildings provide cover from aerial observation. Ukrainian commanders estimate they would need 10 times their current troop numbers to halt Russian advances in the region effectively. Recently, Budapest held its annual Day of Honor to commemorate the failure of Hungarian and Nazi troops to break out of Soviet encirclement in 1945. Another march was anti-fascist, protesting the global rise of the far right across Europe, Radio Liberty reports. But in Madrid, the Hungarian Prime Minister led a far-right group under the slogan, "Make Europe Great Again," copying the slogan of the US President. Rallies in Hungary passed without any major clashes, as was usually the case. Hunyadi Bulshu, an employee of the political capital think tank, said that, according to the right, Hungarian soldiers defended all of Europe from the Red Threat in 1945, and therefore they are heroes. However, since they defended it in the name of Nazi Germany, these events cannot be praised. More than 4,000 people took part in the Memorial March. Many had symbols of right-wing parties, some were dressed in Nazi uniforms, and some were Wagnerites, Alphas, and even soldiers of Putin's army. They even had patches in the form of the letters Z, V, and O. The media writes that the police were keeping order, and they brought in not only service dogs, but also drones. Prime Minister Viktor Orbán complained that Hungary wants to keep all business relations with Russia open, but the EU is against it. He argues that oil and gas from Russia are vital to the survival of the Hungarian economy. He stated this in an interview with the New Zucha Zeitung. "I grew up during the Cold War. My experience is that two big players always make a deal. Numbers 3 and 4 have this problem. The Americans will make a deal with the Chinese. Therefore, it will not be a problem for Hungary to maintain good relations with Beijing and Washington. It is more difficult with Russia. We want to keep all business relations open, but the EU is against it. The US position is still unclear. We need to wait a little longer," Orbán said. The Hungarian Prime Minister believes that the EU is constantly losing competitiveness. He has no strategy and no leadership. What is happening here is shameful. The dynamism of the global economy can be found in the East, and now again in the United States. China is already developing rapidly, and so is India. If Hungary maintains only economic relations with Europe, this is crazy, Orbán said. In addition, the Prime Minister said that Hungary is against sanctions against Russia. "We lost 19.5 billion euros over the past 3 years because we had to restrict trade and energy prices went up. Hungary has suffered more from sanctions than Russia," Orbán said.
Between 1941 and 45, approximately 600,000 Hungarian Jews were murdered. Every 10th victim of the Holocaust and every 3rd victim of the Auschwitz concentration camp were Hungarian citizens.
Siamo tutti antifascisti!